This is Jason Riebe, and you're listening to the Agents Archive podcast. You have a ball in each hand. And he said, one of them's glass, one of them's rubber. The one that's glass is your family, your friends, your personal time. The one that's rubber is business. He goes, what happens when you drop both of them? Well, the glass shatters, the rubber ball bounces back up. I mean, at that point, I was like, wow. I mean, just my mind was blown from something so simple, because you drop your family and you got to work so freaking hard to pick up all the pieces and put it back together. You drop your business and it's going to bounce back.
Hey guys, today we're excited to be joined by Jason Riebe. He is a realtor out of West Texas in the Lubbock market, and he's been licensed since September of 2019 and is already doing upwards of $13 million per year in transactions. So we had a great conversation, and he went all in on his story and opened up with how he got into real estate and how he built up his business and team that he started today. So I think anyone, whether they're a brand new agent, someone who's looking to get licensed, or even someone who's been in the industry for 10 years, I think everyone's going to get something out of this episode. So let's bring Jason in and enjoy.
Jason, how you doing today, man?
Good. You?
Good. Really happy to have you here today. Thanks for taking the time to do this.
Let's dive right in. So first question that we kind of ask everyone is how long have you been in real estate?
So I got my real estate license in September of 2019. A little bit different story for me. I actually worked in a brokerage for about 6 months prior to that, doing a lot of admin work for them. So I kind of got a little bit of knowledge prior to actually selling houses.
So did you work in that position knowing that you're going to end up being a licensee, or did you kind of decide while you were working there?
No, I knew I was going to be a licensee. I had started to do my online classes, and it was just taking too long. So finally, I was like, forget it. I'm going to go in person, and I got my license. And I'll tell you, here's a funny thing. This is what the kicker was. I went to go deposit my paycheck, and I went to go deposit the broker's paycheck, and I saw the difference, and I was like, that's it. I'm done. I'm get my license.
Going into real estate.
Yep.
So, how would you describe your job now? Are you a real estate agent, a broker? How would you describe what you do in real estate?
I'm a real estate agent. I have a small team that I started just a few months ago. Currently, there's 4 of us, and pretty much I still do all the same day-to-day stuff. Helping people buy, sell houses, working with investors. Pretty much anything real estate related. We're starting to get a little bit into the commercial side, but that's a whole nother beast. So my main focus is residential right now.
Okay, awesome, very nice. What were you doing before you got your license?
How far back do you want me to go?
As far back as you want.
Well, okay, I'll tell you. So I have a pretty extensive background in management, customer service, sales, all that. From 2000 to 2009, beginning of 2009, I worked for AT&T, various roles: customer service, management, store management, retail sales, you name it. I did it for the company. And then kind of things went a little sideways with that company. I didn't like the direction they were heading anymore, and I decided to leave. Started my own business. I actually started a fence company. Never had a business before, didn't know what to do. I had just gotten married. I found out probably about a month after I started the fence company that I had a son on the way, and man, it was just nuts. So kind of crazy point in my life. So did that for about 4 years. We were very successful, busy all the time. I really think like all my years at AT&T helped out with that, just trying to get into that segment. But I just didn't have business structure at the time, and I got fed up with just being tired and overworked all the time. So I just decided to close it up and go work for somebody. So I went to go work for a local manufacturing company, and I ran their inventory department for a few months. And then they realized, what the potential was for me to help them out in other aspects of their business. So then I moved up to kind of oversee their overall production flow, and run some semi trucks here and there and stuff like that. And then I had an opportunity pop up with a friend of mine who had opened up a local wheel remanufacturing facility, and it was great. Small company at the time. We were, I don't know, we were probably doing about $8,000 a month when I started. When I left, we had probably about 8 times that amount in volume whenever I left. So I brought a little bit to that, and then everybody else played a huge role in it. So it was definitely interesting to see that business grow. But time came to an end there where I just decided, hey, I need something bigger and better in my life, and I don't want to continue to do this every single day. Getting dirty and going out on sales calls all the time, and just not enjoying it anymore was the problem. And so decided to get in real estate, and opportunity was afforded to me by a friend at the time, and I took advantage of it.
So you've kind of been in all different sorts of industries up until real estate. What motivated you to make that jump into real estate? Was there one factor that pushed you over the edge and said, hey, this is what I need to do?
So let me tell you what happened. It's going to get a little personal here for a minute, so hope you don't mind. In December of 2018, my wife and I at the time, we decided we were going to get divorced. And so, that started affecting me mentally big time. And I just kind of was withdrawn from work and, everything else going on. And the owner of the business that I was with, he was struggling seeing me go through that by the time February came around. And, he's like, hey, look, he said, either, we got to put you in a different role in the company for right now until things get better, or, you're just going to have to leave. And, it was very harsh the way it was put to me. And I was not responsive to it at all. But, at the end of the day, we both walked away. And right as my divorce was about to be finalized, I lost my job. So, it was very, very tough at the time. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I had no direction. And I was sitting around my house one day, and I called up an old friend of mine, and I said, hey, I need to sell my house. And he asked me, he goes, why? I said, I'm getting divorced. I said, it's just about finalized. She left me the house. I don't have a job. I need to take my equity, figure out what I'm going to do with it. And so from there, he's like, hey, man, let's go to lunch. So we went to lunch, and he offered me an opportunity to, work for him as a kind of administrative assistant part-time, and, doing a lot of the back end stuff that you can do without a license. And I took that on, and I started doing my classes. And probably about 5 months in, I realized, hey, I'm not going to complete my classes in the time frame that I need to do it. So I told him one day that I registered for classes to go in person. I'm going to go do that and get my license. And I need to make more money and make a career for myself. And, I all through that whole time frame, I turned 40. And when I turned 40, things were just like, everything changed for me. I realized, I was like, hey, I've got to do something different with my life. I cannot do this. And, it was a push that I needed. I had tried to get into real estate about 10, 12 years before that. It just wasn't right. And I haven't looked back since. It's been amazing.
That's good. That's good to hear. I know reached out after speaking with some other folks in the industry in our market. For anyone who doesn't know, we're in West Texas, specifically the Lubbock area. And I said, who do y'all think is probably the hardest working person in real estate right now? And your name certainly came up very frequently, if not the most. So I wanted to reach out and be sure to bring you on here so you could share your story, because I think a lot of people can relate to that. A lot of people getting into real estate, they're coming from different careers a lot of the time. And a lot of time there's an event like that, like your divorce, and needing to come up with an income that's triggering their jump into real estate. And, a lot of people, I think new agents especially, think that, hey, yeah, this is something to fall back on. But a lot of times, in my opinion, at least, mine was a somewhat similar story, no divorce or anything, just left a job, worked myself out of a job, didn't have it, and kind of had no other option but to make it work. And in your situation, I think you're certainly on the tail of the bell curve on the right side as far as taking that and really running with it. So you got your license, you did those classes in person while you're working as an administrative assistant for that firm. Mm-hmm. Once you got your license, what did your first year in real estate look like?
So I got my license September of 2019, and within 3 days I had my first property under contract. And it was kind of a weird deal how it came about, but nonetheless, it happened. And nonetheless, too, the first property I put under contract was a quadruplex unit, so a four door unit for an investor.
How did
So,
that happen?
yeah, it was just a lead that I was given, and I went and met with her, and she felt comfortable putting the offer in. So we did it. And it was crazy because I didn't know what I was doing at the time. I mean, I knew enough to be dangerous, as I say, but I relied a lot on the mentor that I had at the time, so that helped. But I think, if I remember correctly, I think I ended up having like $2.5 million in sales from September through the end of December, if I remember correctly. And the biggest thing is just to not give up. Like, you can't be afraid to hear no. You can't be afraid of rejection, and you have to find unique ways to position yourself in a market that's so saturated with agents. So I took all of that into the next year. The next year, 2020, obviously, we all know COVID hit, and it freaked a lot of people out. We're talking the end of February, beginning of March, and I'm like, man, I just started this career. What's going to happen? Like, I'm going to have to go work for somebody. And for me, that pushed me to make sure that did not happen. And so I, hit the phones, cold calls, go out and meet lenders and title companies and builders, and reach out to people that know me and whatnot. And so between all of that, I had 59 closed deals in my first year, and that's a sales volume of right around 12.9 million.
So let me jump in real fast and say, for people who aren't agents, that is not a normal or typical first year by any means. That is exceptional. That's crazy. I know people who've been doing it for 20, 30 years that they're happy with a $5-6 million a year. So that is
well, and you're right there, because most new agents, I think the national statistic shows something like 5 or 6 closings for an agent's first year on the average.
And that's if they're going all in. A lot of brand new agents too, they're not even devoting the time necessary to get those 5 or 6 transactions. Mm-hmm. They're secret agents. They get their license. They're all gung ho about getting it. Then as soon as they have their license and they're out of brokerage, they don't tell anyone about it. They're not door knocking. They're not prospecting. They think all those leads are going to come to them, and people are going to come to them wanting them to sell their house for them or use them to find them their next house. And that just simply isn't how it is. So you talked about, cold calling, door knocking, going after all those leads through your brokerage, and really taking initiative, especially in a time when so many people are nervous about the market, and when there's so much saturation in the market. I mean, our market's not as saturated as, say, like Austin, Texas, or, Manhattan or Los Angeles, but there's still, 4 agents to every 1 listing. And that's a difficult time for anyone to be getting into the market, let alone someone who's brand new, establishing themselves in the business. So that's seriously impressive. What sort of prospecting and lead gen would you say was the most effective for you as a brand new agent?
Well, so the brokerage I was with, we had Zillow, Zillow, Trulia, those would come through, some realtor.com stuff. We had a system in place where, it would, basically like a lead funnel, like a click funnel type system that worked, that we get leads in that way. Honestly, it's kind of crazy now to think about it. My first year, I think 15 of my deals were just personal people. I mean, just people that I knew. And, that reached out to me and said, hey, I know you're in real estate now, you want to help me out. And I think that's a big thing that I see a lot of new agents make a mistake with, is that they don't get the word out that they're an agent, and they don't let people know. So like you said, kind of like a secret agent. And I'll tell you what, from the end of September until probably like March, within that time frame, I was hitting every area that I could on social media, telling people, whatever. I would show up to a realtor event, or I would go somewhere and a friend of a friend would say, man, I've seen you before. You look really familiar. And we get to digging and finding out they had seen me on Facebook, because I was just doing all kinds of ads and promotional stuff and things like that. So, that's what you have to do. You have to brand yourself. You have to set yourself apart. And you have to be willing to be uncomfortable, because the only time you grow is when you're uncomfortable. If you're comfortable, what ends up happening most of the time is you decline, because you don't have any desire to do any better than what you're currently doing.
That is so true. And I remember when you first got into business because I saw you everywhere. I was seeing you on Facebook, Instagram. I think I saw a YouTube ad with you and the folks you're working
Yeah.
with at the time. I
Yep.
was like, man, he's hitting it hard. And I remember that's when I first started paying attention. I was like, whoa, he's having closings left and right. And I mean, your social media game still to this day, I mean, you're doing it a lot harder than most people. So, would you mind telling us a little bit about what you do on social media and kind of your approach with that?
So, well, recently here, I got too busy, and I kind of slacked off a little bit. But I actually just hired a company to help me out with more daily stuff because I don't have time for that. So what I want to have time for is to be recording videos for informational purposes, or whatever might come up. Like right now, I have a series I'm just starting, and I have a client who lives in Colorado, and we're going to do a whole series on their house being built here. And so we just shot a video three days ago, I think it was, and all they have is just the footing, just starting. And so we're gonna just do a series, probably like a 6, 7 part series of the entire build process, just to put it out there. So it's knowledge, and it's getting people to understand like how things work. When it comes to social media, the one thing that I was never afraid of was to hop on there and record a video. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be perfect. That's the beauty about it. Like I don't, and I know this might sound funny, but if I go and I'm putting all my trust in somebody and they are 100% perfect, I'm wondering what is it that's hiding, because I'm not going to be perfect. I mean, I might slip up on a number here or there. I might, so I might misspeak, and then I have to, say, oh, hey, I'm sorry, I said this. But that's just nature of the beast. And so getting comfortable on camera, whether it's just, like you and I talking to each other, you got to be comfortable with that. Think about talking to somebody when you're just walking around taking video of a house that you were showing. Um, and here's another thing too. My social media is not always about business. Like if I go somewhere and I like the place that I went to, post a picture or something like that. I'll post stuff about my kids. Like you can go back and look on my social media too, and I'll have a heart to heart with whoever wants to listen. And like I'll record a 3, 4, 5 minute video and post it. And it's just because like not only do I want to relate with people, but I wanted them to understand that I'm a person as well, and I'm not a salesperson. And the thing about real estate, and I tell this to every single one of my clients, there's going to be a bunch of things you're going to get from me. One, I'm going to be a counselor. Two, I'm going to be some sort of financial advisor. Three, I'm going to be a friend. Four, I'm going to be there to protect your interest. And five, information. The very last thing that comes is the salesperson. The salesperson is always last. You put the salesperson first, you push people away from you. So I want to get to know somebody. I want to understand them. And then when the time is right, then salesperson mode comes on. And I even say that lightly. It's not even salesperson mode at that point. It's just that that's the point in which all the fine details get worked out about what they want to do.
That's when their friend Jason, who has all this knowledge and background in real estate, comes in and provides his expertise. And
Yeah.
that's a good point on the social media. A lot of people in all industries, they just constantly hound their news feed with sales pitches and asks for business, and
Yep.
that really like turns people away.
It does.
I know when I see that, if I follow someone on Instagram and their whole feed, every post is, "Hey, please use me for this. Hey, please use me for this. Hey, come use this. I'll give you a 2% discount." I mean, that's a quick way to find who to unfollow. I want to work with people who are real, genuine people, good people.
Yep.
And like you said about the not being perfect thing, that's something I learned is when I first got in the business and was doing video content, I was making sure they were all perfect one takes. So I was spending 3 hours to do a little 3 minute video, and it came across very inauthentic. And over time, as I got more comfortable on camera, it's like, okay, yeah, this isn't perfect. There's some mistakes. I stuttered or mumbled, had to clear my throat, whatever. But this is real. This is a person that
Yeah.
they're able to connect with on the other side of the screen, and not some, person in a suit and tie who is just a robot and does nothing other than real estate.
Yeah.
So I think that's super important, having those posts like you talked about, your heart to heart posts and posts about your family, so that they know they're working with a real person.
Yeah, exactly. And like let's be quite honest. I don't really like social media. I mean, I have a problem with social media because there's a lot of negative stuff on social media. There's a lot of and I don't mean this the wrong way. There's a lot of fake stuff on social media, like fakeness. You just don't, and you don't know what to believe a lot of times. And the only reason I'm on social media is simply for my business because I know I have to be. Yeah, do I like to keep up with people? Yes, but it's a double-edged sword because if you don't have a strong social media presence, you may as well forget it. Because I think the most recent study that was released is something like 98% of people looking for houses is online. Online means anything, social media, your website, competitors' websites, it doesn't matter. So the more you're present, the more people are going to see you.
Great point. And within real estate too, I think there's a platform for everyone to use. There's some people who, I mean, especially the younger generation, like the 18-year-olds who are getting their license now, they're going to be a lot better at the TikToks and Instagrams than anyone over 22. And people like in more of our age group who's not like a Gen Z, I mean, we're probably going to be more familiar with the Facebooks and the YouTube and stuff like that. And I'd love to get your take on this. I've seen a lot different response and a lot different demographics interacting with stuff on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, stuff like that. I do mostly commercial and investment properties, full disclosure. So I see the best results on LinkedIn. I still have an Instagram and a Facebook and a YouTube because there's team members on my team that also do residential stuff, and I do it for friends and family. And I get a lot of that stuff from those channels. Have you noticed any one particular platform for your business that has had the most effective results that a new agent could use to kind of determine where they should focus their time and energy?
So I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube. Like I'm on all of them because I have I want to have that presence. And here's the thing. Let me cover something on social media real quick too that just came to mind. I don't put stuff on social media as content to gain clients because here's the thing. If you think you're going to gain clients by putting your stuff on social media, you've got it all wrong. What you're doing is you're creating a brand for yourself. You're creating a familiarity with yourself. You're creating a name. And then as a byproduct later on, yes, it will turn into that. But you can't just be brand new and put all this stuff out there and say, "Ooh, it's all going to come to me." It's not going to. It takes time. I'm 2.5 years into this, and my social media is finally starting to pay off a bit. And I probably could have shortened that time frame a little bit, but I didn't really know what I was doing for a little while there. It was kind of a trial and error type thing. But yeah, I'd say Facebook. I'll give you a very interesting story here. So something I did recently is I was looking to find properties for some clients of mine, and I had never done this before. We have all these internal groups for as realtors and whatever, but I never did this before. I put on my Instagram, my Facebook story, my business Facebook story, all of that stuff what I was looking for. I had 10 client needs. Out of those 10 client needs, I picked up one listing and then a buyer. And I mean, it's just something as simple as that. Like, and I never anticipated that, but I would have never picked that up if I didn't have the background of all that social media presence prior.
And all those people seeing the time and work that you're putting in every day, knowing, hey, yeah, this guy's got the credibility. Like if I do reach out to Jason and I have this property list, I know I'll be taken care of because I see him taking
Yeah.
care of people every single day. And I think going back to what you said about getting on social media and going out for clients, that I agree, that is the wrong approach. You're not going to get clients that way. I think the way to do it that a lot of people learn the hard way is you need to be focusing on creating as much value for others as possible, regardless of the platform. So finding ways that you can help people, whether they're going to be your client or not, and that pays
Yep.
dividends. I know as far as like LinkedIn goes, that's a huge thing. Is when people first download LinkedIn, the first thing they do is go on there, as realtors at least, and add everyone that's a suggested recommendation and ask for their
Yep.
business in the connection. That is like
Yep.
the quickest way to get your connection request deleted. And that's something I wish new realtors, I wish I knew this when I first got started, to just focus on building up a repertoire, or sorry, a collection of a backlog posts that if someone scrolls through your page, they're going to want to follow that and come back and be like, oh
Mm-hmm.
man, every time I go to Jason's page, he's just dropping bombs after bombs. And he's sharing things about his life that are, really impactful, and make me feel like I'm connected to him, like I've known him this whole time. And that really helps, especially when they reach out, or vice versa. When they call you, they feel like they know you from being on your social media. So they treat it like you're old friends with them. And that makes things a
Yeah.
lot smoother than messaging someone that you've never met online saying, hey, do you have a house I can sell for you? But
Yeah.
I've never seen that work.
Yeah. Well,
But
it's funny. So like when when I got into real estate, I think I had like 400 friends on Facebook, whatever, right? And for me, I knew a vast majority of them, or it was a friend of a friend. Okay. Might have been an acquaintance or whatever. I'm not saying like I've got 400 friends and I was going and talking to every single one of them every weekend. No, not, not like that. But whenever I got into real estate, man, I would just start getting friend requests after friend request after friend request. And I think I've got like 1,700, 1,800 friends on my page now. And the reason that that's important is because you can then go in turn and invite every single one of them over to your social media platforms. So my realtor page that I have has like 1,800 followers, and just being able to convert those over, and who cares if they buy from me? They buy from me. If they don't, they don't. But for all I know, they're going to keep an eye on my content and at least give me a referral.
exactly. And that's another thing, especially with Facebook. It's more pay to play now than it was like 5 years ago. But
Yes.
if you have those people that follow you, from my understanding of how it works, is when you post a new post to the feed on those pages, it sends it out to a sample audience within your followers. And if there's good engagement and impressions on those, like if they're actually looking at it for a couple seconds, then it starts showing it to their network and more people in your list. And
Yep.
I mean, that's the best way to get your face out in front of people. It's, in my opinion, that pays much more dividends than spending $2,000 a month on Facebook
Oh
sidebar
yeah.
ads. Just
Yeah.
that organic reach that you can get from, hey, yeah, this is my friend Jason. Check out his page. Look what he just did with our property. He got it sold over asking price in 5 days,
Mhm.
and that really goes a long way. So looking at your first year, I know you're a few years in now, but at your first year, what would you say your biggest challenges were as a new agent?
Um, I think managing time.
Hmm.
I think that's the biggest thing, and I'm not gonna lie, I still struggle with it now. You know, and that was what led me to start a team, is because I wanted to be more free from some of the day to day stuff, and not and kind of grow things so that I have something for the future. And I never, like, I would always tell myself, I don't want a team, I don't want a team, I don't want to mess with it. I'll just be okay where I am. Well, I got to the point where that changed, but to go back and answer your question, I think time management is key. You've got to utilize every single opportunity that you have to manage your time. Everything that I do is in my calendar. Like you and I talking to us today, it's in my calendar, and it has to be there, or else it's not going to happen. If I've got a meeting, or yeah, even something like going to eat lunch with my son, put it in my calendar. That way it's a non-negotiable. Go to the gym. That's in my calendar. That's a non-negotiable. And so you have to make sure that you have a structured day. You can't just be all willy-nilly everywhere, because what happens is it's going to be like throwing a deck of cards up in the air and trying to catch every single one of them. And it's not going to happen.
So would you say that time blocking and putting things in your calendar is sort of what helped with navigating the time management stuff?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And then here's the other thing too. Don't be afraid to spend money to make money. And the reason I bring that up is because a lot of people try to run every single transaction they have themselves. And I'll tell you, the thing that holds you back the most is the things that you can pay for and get even a bigger return out of it. So let me just take an example. Somebody who's a good transaction coordinator and handles majority of the stuff for you is going to be about $300 a transaction. The hours of time that they put into that, you could turn around and easily get three more transactions. And so $300 is a drop in the bucket if you're making $6,000 each on the next three transactions. I mean, would you rather have $18,000 or would you rather spend 300 and spend $300 or vice versa? I mean, all day long, transaction management is key. And I think it was either March or April of last year, well, not last year, of 2020, and I have not looked back. I've had someone managing my transactions the entire time since then.
So what would you say is the tipping point for an agent to go to having someone manage their transactions? Should they start out doing that, or should they learn how to do it themselves and kind of figure out how they like it done? Or at what point would you say someone's ready to bring on a transaction coordinator?
I would say, and so this is how my new agents talk. My transaction coordinator only helps them with compliance related stuff. Like if we need a form, she's like, "Hey, we need this." If we are running into an issue that requires attention specifically from the title company and whatnot, she'll help out with that. But other than that, everything they do themselves because a good transaction coordinator a lot of times is going to do schedule inspections, make sure that option earnest money is received, make sure that there's things on your calendar showing when the option period's up, the closing date, scheduling all of that, doing all the back end compliance work. If you're out and you can't do an amendment and you have a licensed realtor who's a transaction coordinator, you can call that licensed realtor and say, "Hey, can you write up this amendment for me and send it out?" So if you go with that right off the bat, you're never going to have any idea how to manage or run a transaction. And honestly, it can make you look like a fool in front of a good client. So no, definitely not. I would say you probably need a good 4 to 6 months of work under your belt with, I'm personally me, I would say no less than 10 transactions managing yourself. And then you can see about, giving it off to somebody else. And is it going to take time at first? Yes, but that's your opportunity to ask questions and learn.
Agreed. And it does take some adjusting, I would say, too, with kind of working out those kinks and how you work with them. Because, I mean, they might have different procedures that they do with every agent. You might have specific ways that you like things done.
Yeah.
And what you brought up about them being able to just draft up an amendment real fast and send that out for signature. I can't tell you how many times I would have been in a bad spot if I didn't have someone I could call and say, "Hey, can you get this drafted up and sent out right now? We need this signed in the next 2.5 hours." But I'm
Yeah.
out with clients, and one of my rules is I'm not stepping away or taking away time from a client's while I'm with them to go do something on a computer or phone. So I want to give them my undivided attention. So having someone who can do that, whether you're with clients or you're driving and you have no ability to do that while you're driving, it's really good to have someone like that on your team who is available. And whether it's a transaction coordinator or, if you're just starting out, more recently, I've seen a lot more people who are like 50-50 partners, like husband wife teams sometimes who, maybe you can call your husband or call your wife and have them do some paperwork while you're showing some of your clients at another property, stuff like that. And
Yeah.
that seems to do a similar process, but having those things lined up so that you're ready to pull the trigger on those transaction coordinators, I think that's important too. So anytime you get a card from someone or meet someone who does transaction coordination, try them out for a deal or two, see what the relationship's like when you work with them. So when you finally do go hard and you have like 10-15 deals going on at a time, you know who you're going to use, and you know that the processes that y'all both use are compatible.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
question for you. So if you had to start over tomorrow, you had no leads, no clients, prospects, no former book of business, anything like that. Say you were dropped in a completely new market. What would you do to get your business back up to speed where it's at now as quickly as possible?
I would jump right on the social media game and start that all over again. I mean, that's huge. If I had the if if I had a budget to put behind things, I'd probably run some stuff. Ads on Facebook. Maybe try to invest in that. Get out and meet people. Just meet as many people as you can. Try to join. The local chamber of commerce. Try to. There's like there's business mentorship groups that you can join. Referral hubs, stuff like that. I mean, you've got to. You can't just sit still. You have to invest in yourself, and investing in yourself is just one of the biggest things, because if you don't do it, I mean, well, you're going to be that 85% that just doesn't make it because you're going to say it's too hard. Hey, and don't get me wrong, real estate's tough. It can be stressful. It can be very demanding. It can be very tough, but it's also extremely rewarding. And there will be a point in which all that hard work that you were doing will pay off. It'll start to pay off. And so, you may not want to get out and meet all those people or go to those things or whatever, but how do you expect to have a successful business with a foundation built on sand?
Exactly. And you mentioned that it's hard. And you mentioned earlier the need to be uncomfortable and do hard things. And that makes me think of something that you've publicly posted about before that you've done is the 75 hard. So would you recommend that to other realtors or new realtors? And what are your thoughts on that as far as how it could play into the real estate business?
So I have mixed reviews about that. I did it because I got roped into it by a good friend of mine, and it's okay. Like he's great. But you know, if you don't know what 75 hard is, look it up. Okay, I won't go into all the specifics, but look it up. Um, it's time consuming. It's meant to teach you a lesson. It's meant to be mentally tough, and you're supposed to go through everything that's suggested in that program so that you can learn about yourself and grow from it. Because it's going to push you beyond your comfort zone. It's going to make you dig deep inside and pull something out of you that you don't know is there. Somebody who doesn't have enough confidence, be a perfect program for them. Somebody who just wants to get more physically fit, okay, great program. Somebody who wants to help, create structure in their life, good program for them. And that's because it's not. A lot of people think it's just simply for the physical aspect of things. That's not what it is. Not at all. It is a multifaceted program. It teaches you discipline, structure, basically having boundaries and all sorts of things. And yeah, would I recommend it? Hey, I would recommend it to anybody, to be honest with you. But just know it takes a lot of mental fortitude to go through.
Yeah, everyone I've spoken to about it says it's the most fun that they'd never want to have again.
That's me.
Would you say there's some lessons that you got out of that helped in your business side of life?
Well, let me tell you, I hate reading. Um, I don't like reading. I'm a big documentary type person. I will sit in front of the TV for 2 hours solid and watch a documentary. And then when the next one comes out, I'll do the same thing, because I'm interested in stuff like that. So reading wasn't really big for me growing up. So I think that's probably a big part of the reason why. But, I'll read news articles and stuff here and there. But as far as like a book, a 300, 400, 500 page book, may as well count me out. But with 75 hard, I didn't have a choice because you have to read 10 pages a day. I had no choice in it. So, um, yeah, I mean, that's it. I think what I gained out of it business wise was understanding even more that you have to do the things that you don't like in order to succeed with your goal.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely requires lots of discipline to get through that, especially if you're somewhere like Lubbock, where your morning workout could be 10 degrees outside and your afternoon workout could be 65. Uh,
Yep. Yep.
yeah, that's interesting. I remember seeing you go through that and thinking like, man, I think a lot of people could really benefit from doing this too. And I did it coinciding with when my twin daughters were born, and I just remember thinking like, wow, I wish I had done this fresh out of college when, staying up until 2, 3 a.m. on the weekends and stuff and getting up wiped out to go to work.
Yep.
Um, Once you're self-employed like a realtor, something that a lot of people are excited about is the freedom and time freedom, but that can also be your worst enemy if you don't have a high level of discipline to actually get to work every morning. It's easy to, I was talking about this with some other realtors the other day, like it's easy to, wake up at 9 a.m. because you were hanging out with friends at a restaurant or out at the club until 2 in the morning. Then realistically wake up at 9, roll out of bed, you fix breakfast, you chill, you're on your phone, then you're not working until everyone else is on their lunch break. And
Yeah.
you've just missed out on 4 or 5 hours of the day. So
Yep.
if you're going to get any meaningful work done, I think it's important, especially in real estate, to get a head start on the day and be up before everyone else and just getting as much in as you can.
I got two things for you. One of the, and I'm not going to put a price on it because even though there was monetary or money that had to exchange hands, I can't put a price on it. I signed up for some very high level business coaching classes back in April of last year, and man, just mind blown because everything that you do in business relates to your personal life. Everything you do in your personal life relates to business. And so the whole point of the classes and the coaching was to help you create a better business mind, business strategy. But what you don't realize is that you go on a personal journey through it too. And that just goes back to the whole thing. Don't be afraid to invest in yourself. I was scared to death to write that check because I was like, holy crap, this is a lot of money. And the thing is what came out of it is just far beyond what I would have ever expected between business growth, personal growth, everything. And it's still working. I still go to those classes every single day. And for me, waking up early in the morning is the toughest thing that I can do. I can stay up all night long, no problems. Waking up at 5:45 in the morning, hopping on a call right at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm still like, man, why am I doing this? And then I realize why I'm doing it. But that's one thing. The other thing that I wanted to touch on too that a lot of people don't understand is as a real estate agent, you're not an employee, you're not an employee, you're an employer. Okay. And essentially the reason I say you're an employer because you have to have that mindset of you're running your own business. A lot of people come in and look for all this guidance and direction and somebody to tell them what to do, 8 to 5 hours, 9 to 6 hours, whatever. It's not going to happen. That's not a recipe for success. Recipe for success is you're an entrepreneur as soon as you get your real estate license.
Yeah, you determine your level of success. So,
Mhm.
I mean, there's people who are working 4 or 5 hours a week, making more than they ever could have at their W-2 jobs before. And there's people working 80 hours a week as a realtor who are barely meeting their monthly payments. So, I mean, a lot of it does go into sort of how much effort and intensity you're putting into the time you're working as well. So,
Yeah.
you could be doing meaningless work and just be busy all day, or you could be focusing on the important tasks and really taking advantage of the opportunity you have as an entrepreneur. You're setting your own schedule
Yep.
so you can get really meaningful work done and still have time. This is one of the reasons I'm doing this is so I have time to spend with my kids and watch them grow up and start other businesses. I'm not stuck in a cubicle just waiting to clock out every day and wiped out when I get home. I'm able to, get my real estate work done in a few hours a day and focus on my other businesses and see my kids, fix lunch and dinner with them when I'm home. And
Yep.
I mean, I think that's something really special about this too, but it's not for everyone. It's definitely not for everyone.
Yeah. I agree.
There's no structure that you can just tell someone to have and it's going to work for them. It's going to be different for everyone. Like some people have to have a rigid schedule. Like I'm going to sit down at my desk at 8 a.m. and I have to be in an office space. So they're not going to be working from home as realtors. They got to be somewhere. Or there's some people who, I mean, if you're in an office, this is me. I'm so ADHD that I'm like bouncing around the office for 3 hours just trying to talk to everyone and I get nothing done. So I'm better
Yeah.
off if you put me in a corner and give me a phone and a laptop and I'll do some business. But I think it's something
Yeah.
that over your first year or two, especially a little bit of, would you say, trial and failure to figure out what works best for each person?
It's funny. Failure, I don't like the word failure. And I'll tell you the reason why I don't like the word is failure is only the true definition to me of failure is if you try something and you give up and you just stop. I like to look at it as lessons because when something doesn't work out, you have two options. It either leads to failure or it leads to growth. There's nothing else. There's no in between. There's no middle of the road. When you come up against a roadblock and it just things aren't working out, take the path of figuring that out and letting it teach you a lesson. And that's where a lot of people get blocked. They just like, oh, this didn't work out. It's never going to work out. Look, I told you. And no, take that, revise your strategy, and move forward.
I love that. Especially in our industry, there's so many opportunities for growth and so many opportunities if you don't have the right mindset to see those learning opportunities as an exit from the industry. It's easy to for that negativity from, maybe making a mistake or something doesn't go as planned. And that can snowball
Yeah.
very quickly to the point where there's nothing good and I'm not supposed to be in this job anymore. Let me just let me go back to where I was before at the, wherever the snow cone stand. And I
Yeah.
think that's hard for a lot of people because there's going to be a lot of blows that you take, especially when you're first starting out and you don't know the ins and outs of everything. So
Yeah.
being able to see those as, hey, I'm going to get through this. I'll work it out and I won't let this happen again.
Well, and it's funny. I just had something recently.
Hmm.
Real estate's not. Like I said, real estate can be tough. This was so crazy that all this happened. I mean, like I don't even get it. But it was all meant to teach me a lesson. Um, and I rethought about how I was doing things. I had one agent who her contract fell out, and we did everything under the moon and the sun that we could possibly do. And then within a few days, I had a contract that fell out, and they were all past option period. And then about 2 weeks later, I had a client whose husband passed away, so that contract terminated. Then I had a deal that I was working on with another client who, we kept for like a week or week and a half. We were getting drug along that the people were going to sign, and then all of a sudden they got another offer and accepted that offer over my client's offer. So then that happened, and then we had a commercial deal that went south, and we had one other one. I can't remember that one, but I know we had one other one. So you're talking 5, 6 deals within about a month and a half that just all completely. And you're sitting here thinking like, man, who did I piss off? Because that's your first thought. But and that's where I talk about failure. Like I don't look at that as failure because now I know that it taught me a lesson. Okay, I was putting all my eggs in one basket. I was counting on XYZ. Well, no, I don't need to do that. I need to get back to my roots where I was because I had made things more complicated than they should have been. And getting back to, the root of what I had always done was actually the best course of action. I was trying to change something that was working. And I think that kind of led to other things. But then whenever, everything kind of fell out, it gave me the opportunity to take a look back and say, okay, what do I need to do to restructure? And a lot of people at that point would just give up. They'd be dumbfounded as to what to do next because, it's like, oh my God, woe is me. Things aren't working out. What am I going to do next? And so, yeah. Anyways, sorry.
No, no, no. That's super helpful. And especially in this industry where there's so many people who are on a roller coaster of commissions, they had 5 or 6 deals fall out even within like 2 months. That could mean them having to go back to work elsewhere. So I
Hmm.
mean, that really goes into how are you planning your financials? How are you, structuring your business so that if you do have things like that happen, you're not out of the business. And I think the responsible agent is living in a manner that it's not counting on those deals that are under contract in order to be
Yep.
able to just stay in the business and
Yeah.
factoring, hey, like it's not over till closing documents are signed and
Yeah.
those funds have hit the seller's account.
Yeah.
That's something you learn your first year too is not counting your
Yep.
chickens until they are hatched.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. Exactly.
So looking at today, Jason, what would you say a typical day in your life looks like now from when you get up to when you hit the hay?
I like to be fairly structured. Granted, like today's a very good example of what happened. I woke up this morning, got started getting my day going, and then I had something come up, and I couldn't get to the office when I wanted to, and then I had clients that were like, "Hey, we need to see these properties," and then another client, "Hey, I want to write a contract," and then just all this other stuff. So there's going to be days where things get derailed, right? But you have to be able to adapt to that. So there's always tomorrow, no big deal. But generally, I wake up, get on my coaching call in the morning, get ready, head to the office, check my emails, look around in there, see if there's anything that needs to be tended to, reach out and talk to my well, I say transaction coordinator, but she's an assistant for me. But she does all my transaction stuff. Reach out to her, make sure there's nothing that needs to be taken care of, and then I hit the phones. I hit the phones and I follow up with new prospects. I follow up with people that I've been working with. I work on trying to get appointments set, at the same time, because if you get in front of somebody, you're way more likely to convert them than just talking to them over the phone. Uh, right around lunchtime, I try to hit the gym. Some days that doesn't happen, but it's a non-negotiable, so I'll put it on the back end of the day. After that, I go back to checking in on things again to make sure there's nothing that needs attention, and I start my showings, and that's pretty much it from there. I do have time at home with my kids, and we don't always get to eat dinner together, but we do make sure and at least hang out for a little while, and I kind of veg out on TV for a little bit, and that's the end of my day.
And that's so important to be able to actually come home and have that time. I know there's so many people, especially that are graduating college right now, that think that they have to, go through this route that they're trained in college. Like, hey, you have to accept this job paying 40K a year. You're going to be working, way more than they say you will be in the interviews. You're going to be traveling 90% of the time. Probably won't have time for a relationship. Definitely won't have time for a family. Be ready to move at the drop of a hat. And
Yeah.
with this, you have an awesome schedule set up where, I mean, some days, sounds like a lot of days, you're able to get your workout in the middle of the day and still get your work done and see your family at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And you
you have
mentioned,
to be you have to be willing to set non-negotiable items. Like they have to be like your family time and your personal time every day has to happen, and those have to be non-negotiable.
and those have to have boundaries. And that's one of the things that I discuss with clients first up is when I'm working with someone like, hey, here are the hours that I'm going to answer my phone and that I'm willing to do showings. There are certain times of day, like between X hour and X hour, I'm going to be with my daughter, or I'm going to be sitting
Yeah.
down to have dinner with my family, or on Sunday, yeah, I'm not going to answer my phone or show houses when I'm in mass. Like those are my non-negotiables. And I can't, just not take care of myself and my family, because your mental health and your relationships with the people closest to you, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what you have. Um, Business can come and go, industry can come and go with regulation. So taking care of those non-negotiables is key. And go
Let,
ahead.
let- let me tell you something. And I had this epiphany the other day, and it was because of something that somebody said. So, over here at my brokerage, uh, Brandon has a coach, and every successful business person is going to have a coach. Coaches have coaches, you know, and the reason is because they see things that you don't see, or whatever. You know, everybody has a different take on things, but they obviously know mindset and structure and stuff like that, and so they're very good at what they do. So he came in and he gave this example, and he said, you have two. He goes, you have a ball in each hand, and he said, one of them's glass, one of them's rubber. The one that's glass is your family, your friends, your personal time. The one that's rubber is business. He goes, what happens when you drop both of them? Well, the glass shatters, the rubber ball bounces back up. I mean, at that point, I was like, wow. I mean, just my mind was blown from something so simple, because you drop your family and you got to work so freaking hard to pick up all the pieces and put it back together. You drop your business, and it's going to bounce back.
It'll be back. Those relationships with family, you only get one shot at those. And I mean, you gotta handle those a lot more delicately so that you're not breaking them and
Yeah.
causing any permanent damage to them. You mentioned it a few times with coaching and stuff like that. What would your guidance be on new agents? Do you think new agents should immediately get coaching, and should they get coaching
Here's what
from agents, or what's your thought?
I think at the bare minimum, they need to go through a mentorship program. It should be. In fact, I honestly feel like it should be a requirement of getting your license. I really, really do, like an apprenticeship program. And the reason is two things: one, to protect you as the brand new agent, but also two, to provide a pathway for success. Um, I don't think that a general business coach would help a brand new agent just right off the bat, because there's so much you need to know about real estate that they're probably not going to be able to give to you. A mentor is huge. I've mentored several agents, and I don't even know how many at this point, to be honest with you. It's probably around 10. Um, and every single one of those agents, they're not all like high producing like I am, because that's not what their desire is. But I was able to give them a good foundation so that when they operate their business the way they want, they know and understand and have good expectations. And there's a lot of intricacies too with paperwork and how you do stuff like that. Continuing education, huge, 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 huge. Your first year you have to have 98 hours of continuing education. That's nothing when you look at it compared to what you have to know to just do one real estate transaction. So, and that's another big thing. I got my GRI accreditation in my first 2 years. And the reason that I did that is because I realized that there's a lot more to know out there than what I knew at the time. Even after closing, all those deals, I went through the GRI classes and my mind was blown. I was like, I had no freaking clue because you don't know what you don't know.
What you learn to get your license is barely scratching the surface. And
Yeah.
I remember thinking like, okay, I've sat through like 180 plus hours of CE to get to this point. Like, what could I not know? And it's really, I mean, you really hit it on the head. Like, you don't know what you don't know. You're going to get your first deal and be like, wait, I didn't learn this. I didn't learn this in all these classes that I took. And you're going to have to lean on those more senior agents who are willing to help you and walk you through those different scenarios to really absorb everything that you actually need to know. And something my mentor told me when I first got into business is like, hey, look, you're learning just enough to be dangerous in these classes. Once you're licensed, you're really going to learn through doing. You're going to come across things in deals all the time that like our broker might not even know the answer to, but you're going to work through them. And that's going to make you a better agent for doing that and coming to others saying, hey, look, I don't know exactly how to navigate this. Can I talk through this with y'all and bounce some ideas off? Rather than just kind of saying, oh yeah, I know everything. Here's what I'm supposed to do. That's how you get in trouble. That's how you get referred to the state commission, regardless of what state you're in, is just kind of boldly pushing through deals with confidence that you know everything. So we're wrapping up here soon. We're closing on an hour. I don't want to take up your whole afternoon. Real fast before we jump into our final 4 questions, what do you do for prospecting and lead gen today? Now that you're more established in your business.
I mean, honestly, I've bought a few lists of prospects that you can buy through various websites. I have lead generation that comes in through my website. I have a couple of companies that I pay monthly fees to, part of Realtor.com's referral program. So, you can't be invested in any one particular thing. It has to be multifaceted.
It has to be spread out. If you're putting all your eggs in one basket, then that basket falls apart. You're not having a good day. I agree. So we like to ask everyone the same few questions at the end. First one is, what is your favorite real estate or business related book?
Sell It Like Serhant. Ryan Serhant is a freaking master of what he does. And listening to his story and how he came up to where he is right now is so extremely inspiring. I mean, I bought the book pretty much as soon as it came out. I was like, yeah, I'm reading this one. And I told you before, I don't like to read.
Yeah. I like that book. That was same boat as you. As soon as that one came out, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm ordering this one. And I mean, his story is pretty incredible. I never would have known that just from watching $1 Million Listing. So really fascinating. I think people will definitely get a lot out of that. Second question, what advice would you give a new real estate agent to help them build their business and have a lasting and successful career?
Don't burn yourself out. Don't You set those boundaries right out of the gate. Don't let things get overwhelming to you. Reach out for help. Have somebody who can mentor you. Plain and simple, a seasoned agent who can mentor you. You're going to need it. You should want it anyways.
Agreed. That's a really good one. I think from this episode, especially, people can take away the importance of reaching out for help and finding a mentor when they first get into business. That can change the trajectory of their career completely.
100%.
So Jason, what are your goals for the next 12 months in your business and in your life?
So last year I increased my business quite a bit. I closed about an extra 3.1 million over the previous year. So, which was, my goal for this year was 15 million. I ended up like 16.1, right around there. Off market deals and everything combined and everything. So, so that was my goal. My goal for this year, I set at 25 million. I just I have certain things in mind. Like I want to have 3 properties purchased as investment properties by the end of the year for myself. I want to leave some. I want to have a legacy for my kids. Like, whether they're helping me with it or when I'm no longer here, it's theirs. But I don't know, and I just want to show. I want to show my kids that hard work pays off, because if we're being honest, I've gone through times in my life where I had no money and didn't know what I was going to do to pay bills, electricity getting cut off, and this, that, and the other. And I don't ever want my kids to experience that. So my personal goal is to continue to show my kids what it takes to be a successful person in life, whether they're, whether it's, they be a nurse or they go into sales or whatever. It doesn't matter. You can be successful at anything.
I love that.
That's pretty much it.
I think I can't speak for the whole world, but I know what I'm seeing, and I think you're definitely doing a very good job of that, setting a good example for not only your kids but certainly your peers as well. So what is the best way for listeners to get in touch with you?
Reach me on Facebook, Instagram, phone number, any one of the 3. I mean, I'm everywhere.
Okay, and we'll link your contact info in the notes to show as well, so people can, add you on Insta, Facebook, all that stuff as well.
Yes, sir.
Sweet, Jason. Well, thank you everybody for taking the time to listen to this episode, and thank you, Jason, very much for taking the time to join us here today and share your story and all these super helpful tips and insights that I'm sure will definitely keep many agents in the business and probably get a lot of people into the business as well. So this is Jason Riebe and Matt Moreland signing off. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey guys, Matt Moreland with the Agents Archive podcast, just taking a quick ad break. So we are sponsored by the Agents Archive merchandise store. So we don't want to set up a Patreon or anything like that and ask for monetary support without something cool in return. So we decided to set up a merchandise store where we can give you guys, if y'all feel so inclined to support us, cool sweatshirts like this one, if you can see the video of the podcast. Also have cool mugs, and we'll have some more products that we're working with local artists to create in the coming weeks. We really don't want people to feel like they have to buy anything from us or support us monetarily in any way. Right now, we are doing all of the stuff for the podcast, the blog, everything in our downtime between our day jobs and full-time family and work lives. But any support is greatly appreciated and does help us spend more time to create content like this for you guys.